Come on in, welcome to my home. I'm CM Coleman, and today we're going to do something different than what I had planned on. Today we are going to try making cinnamon scented pine cones. Now, I've done this before. I know a really easy way to do this and what I think is really simple. However, I was talking to a friend of mine and she told me that she had seen on the internet where you could do this in a whole different way. And I'm like, okay, so she sent me a link, which is linked down below in the description. And there are a couple of links. And I kept thinking, does that work? Is that good? Can you actually, do this way? Because then my next thought was, is this easier? I can't tell you right now. So, what we have to do is we're going to start this off at the beginning, and this is the beginning for everybody. This is for people who do not have pine cones at home. I don't know if you can tell that, but in that jar up there are pine cones. So I already had pine cones, but I went out and I got some fresh pine cones, I guess you would say. And so the first thing that you want to do when you have pine cones that haven't been, cleaned or treated or whatever you want to call it, you need to make sure that there is nothing in those pine cones which would be bad. So the easiest way to do that is to take a pan, line it with aluminum foil, put your pine cones on. Yes, I'm only doing 3 pine cones because I want to see if this is actually worth it or not. I already have an opinion already, but hey. So then we put those on the plate. I put those on the pan, and then put them in the oven at 200 degrees, and you bake those for about 40 minutes. So that way, anything which is in there most likely will get fried off. Anything which shouldn't be in there, you get the whole idea. So then you have pine cones which are pretty clean. Okay, so now here's the next step where we diverge from things. I will tell you how I normally do my pine cones and why I do them that way, but we're going to follow this idea. So then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your pine cones and you're going to put them in a pan of water along with cinnamon sticks, and then you're going to simmer them. Simmer them for quite a while. It's linked down below, and I'm sure I'm doing a voiceover that tells you how long I simmered them for. And of course, the house did smell pretty good while they were simmering. But we have to wait and see how this actually works. And the one I'm going to leave with just doing the simmered pine cones with the cinnamon sticks. The other I'm going to do that extra step, and we'll get to that. But let's get this pine cones simmering and on their way. So after baking, you then put the pine cones and your cinnamon into a kettle, pot, whatever you want to call it, with water in it. Then you're going to sort of steep that, simmer that, for I'd say about an hour, 2 hours, however long you want to, because I'm going to tell you that part's not going to matter a whole lot. So then once it's done, your house will smell like cinnamon. And it does. It smells amazing. And so then you take them out of the pot, and you can do a couple things. One, you can cool them on a rack until you can then put them into a plastic bag, like this, along with the cinnamon. And then you're supposed to be all done. Okay, let's try this. So I'm pulling out, and this is going to become an interesting thing. Right now it is still wet, and I give it a nice smell. And it smells like barely cinnamon. Barely. Now, I can leave this in there for several days to several weeks, and the cinnamon smell will sort of infuse in this. And I've even seen this where they go on and do put the cinnamon into this bag and let it infuse in here that way. There's a problem. There's a huge, huge problem. Do you know what else is in this bag? Water. Do you know what happens when you have a whole bunch of water? You can get mold. That's one of the things that you have to think about if you're going to do it this way. If you just seal this bag up while these things are still not completely dry, they can mold. Mold is bad. You don't want moldy pine cones, and then the cinnamon will mold. I mean, yeah, so you don't want mold. So I'll show you the two different ways that I do mine. One of the ways, which is the absolute fastest, is to just add the cinnamon oil, and you can use any good smelling cinnamon oil that you like, and then do a few drops on each pine cone or the whole set of pine cones. You decide, because you can decide how strong you want the cinnamon, and you can do it that way. Or you can also put your pine cone into a bag, sprinkle some cinnamon oil on it, seal up the bag. That will infuse the cinnamon into the cinnamon oil into the into the pine cone. You do want to rotate the bag so that way the pine cone does get all the oil and helps absorb the oil. And I'd say leave that in there for a week or two, and it would really infuse with that. But when it comes to doing this with the boiling it and with the water, and this is what I figured would happen, there are so many extra steps. Do I think that you need to bake your pine cones? Yeah. Can you boil your pine cones? Oh yeah, if you want to make sure that your pine cones are all nice and clean. One of the things I was doing research for this video, one of the things that people did was they boiled their pine cones first, then baked them. But the most important thing that you want to do is before you do much of anything is you have to make sure that your pine cones get dry. They need to be dry. It's like anything. If you put something into a bag long enough that's wet, it's going to mold. Yeah, it's going to mold. You don't want that mold. So this way, make sure that you're working with dry pine cones, even the ones if you're going to boil them, which is fine. And you could, like I said, you can totally do this. Then you just take them out of the bag so that they can air dry. And of course, once they air dry, they're going to lose that cinnamon smell. And then you're going to need the cinnamon oil. I think the secret of everything is making sure that you have a good scented cinnamon oil. Now, do you need a pure essential oil cinnamon? Oh, it's nice. Trust me. Pure essential cinnamon oil will give your house a wonderful scent. Oh, it's so good. However, it can be expensive. Could you get just a fragrance oil? Yeah, you could. I mean, I can always tell the story when I worked at a craft/fabric store, fabric/craft store that is now out of business. Our cinnamon pine cones would sell out instantly. There was reason for it. My coworker and I, we were the ones in charge of putting the cinnamon oil onto the pine cones, and we would put so much cinnamon oil on them that you could actually see the vapor rising up off the pine cones. In fact, people talked about right after we did it, your eyes would burn just going past the cinnamon pine cones because of how strong the cinnamon was. And the manager of the store at first wasn't real happy until she started noticing that our pine cones would go. I mean, we'd get a new thing of pine cones with the cinnamon oil. And that's what they do when they get those pine cones in the big cardboard tubs, I guess. You just pour the cinnamon oil on them, and then, yeah, it's amazing. The cinnamon smell is so strong and wonderful. And wow, like I said, they sold really, really fast. But the reason is because the cinnamon was so strong. But those pine cones were absolutely dry. This will not give you dry. This can give you problems. Will it always give you problems? No. I mean, you could actually get away with not doing this. If I were to do this, I would probably just put this out, and which is what I'm going to do. I'll put this back onto a cookie rack and let them dry that way. The other thing which you notice is, did you notice that the pine cones closed? If you want that full open pine cone thing, they're going to have to dry out again. So these are going to have to open up again because the water caused the pine cones to close. So while it was really cool and it was a fun experiment, and I can now tell you that, hey, yes, you could do that, but realistically, I'm going to stick with the cinnamon oil on my pine cones because the other part about this is I can decide how strong I want that scent. Like if I wanted a really, really strong scent, I can use a lot of cinnamon oil. If I don't want a strong scent, I can just use a few drops. Now, the cinnamon oil that I did use is kind of old. It's kind of old. But it is really nice. It's strong. Can you see that? Yeah, that's that container right there that had the cinnamon oil on it. Yeah, I can still smell the cinnamon. It smells really good. But yeah, the boiling it, I wouldn't waste your time. No, no, just get the cinnamon oil. And the other part about this is doing it that way. If you with the completely dried pine cones and the cinnamon oil, you can use those pine cones year after year. Once they're completely dry, then you can put them into a tub that you can seal completely. If you want to have some really good fun with that, before you put them in the tub that you're or bag or whatever you're going to seal completely with them, put more cinnamon oil on them. So that way they have the entire year to be absorbing that cinnamon oil, and that will, like, the fragrance, it's not going to be like super super strong, but it will be there. And it's always sort of fun when you open up those bags and you can smell the cinnamon. It's a really, really nice thing. I enjoy it. But yeah, this is one of our first projects for Christmas. And no, never doing this again. Never, ever. At this time, I'd like to thank these wonderful people. They are part of my Patreon and channel members. They get these videos usually early, and they get a behind-the-scenes weekly vlog where I talk about my personal life and what things have been going on and any struggles that I'm having with getting things done. Or they also get to see the cleaning videos in different formats and that sort of thing. And they really help keep this channel going, because that money is then used for getting new things. I mean, I'll be honest, yeah, it helps. It really helps to keep the channel going. We can try new adventures and see how they go. If you want to become part of the channel members, that would be great, or part of the Patreon family, that would be wonderful. If you don't want to do that, the other thing which you could do to help support this channel is just like and share this video. It lets the YouTube algorithm know that it is a good video and other people should see it. And I hope other people do get to see this so that they don't try boiling their pine cones and then letting them mold. No, dry them out first, then do that. Yeah, I've said this enough now. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments what you thought, and I hope we get to see you again the next time you stop by.